Let's see if she attacks a Republican in this process. That would be kind of amazing. If there's just like a circular firing squad going on over at Fox right now, which would
24 hours, we've been just overwhelmed by your
oh my gosh
response to our Red State Trailblazers town hall in Orlando last night.
Yeah, what was with the social distancing? What kind of honest deep state? Yeah.
Now, we had 5 GOP governors who joined us for a wide-ranging conversation about how they've grown their economies, how they've protected individual freedoms, and how they've beaten back the radical leftists dominating the Democrat Party. Now, none of them had waited for Washington's permission to open their businesses or...
Yeah, and they hid deaths, and they pretended it wasn't a problem, and they had a fairly isolationist state to begin with, or have very low populations.
Lift their mask mandates, or frankly get their students back in the classroom. And none of them are cowed by the woke mob, BLM.
Oh, it's still on woke.
Or the gender fluidity crowd.
The gender fluidity crowd. So the go-getters versus the gloom gang.
They're all happy warriors.
And by the way, I like the spindly tree behind Nancy Pelosi that makes her look like a witch. I do no word on whether or not she's standing in water and not sinking.
One thing all the CEOs told me, they could not operate in California. They came to the state of Texas because they knew it was great for their employees, great for their workers, great for the staff.
But then their power bills.
For their vision of what they wanted to achieve as a business.
We just need to encourage people to step up.
By the way, that is a marketing ploy. The statistics have come out from last year, and this whole idea that there was a stampede away from California and towards Texas and all that stuff because of people like Joe Rogan moving there. Statistically, almost no change in population in either place.
Do the right thing.
And it might be because people left California and other people went, oh, there's a free spot, and they moved into California, and then the people coming into it didn't add to the population of places like Texas because they were dying of COVID and they were hiding the numbers.
And fight back. It's worth fighting. We have to fight back.
Yeah, fight. It's very important to fight. Fight, Iowa. Keep fighting, Iowa. Iowa, go ahead and fight for whatever, paying for every dollar you pay in federal taxes, getting $1.30 back.
Fighting back in Florida, so I'm gonna the bills.
Yeah, you're gonna fight here and fight here. We know what you're not fighting back against here, Florida man.
Passed. I'm gonna sign a bill that will hold big tech accountable,
and it will do nothing. It will absolutely. It's not gonna hold big tech accountable for anything. It will do nothing. I mean, I'm all for state governors passing flaccid, look what I did bills.
It'll allow you to sue big tech if they censor you or deplatform you.
Yeah, and you'll lose because they'll win on a constitutional level, and then you'll owe them. You'll have to pay their legal fees because constitutionally they actually have a right, unless these assholes want to make Twitter a public utility. Good luck with that. And we're the socialists? What?
And also provides protections for political candidates' speech.
Now contrast that with the Democrats' very dark vision of America.
Oh, the darkness. Yeah. I'm sorry, what did we just see there? People moving from California because CEOs felt like they couldn't do business there, and statistically that's not even the case. And then Florida and other places saying they're going to fight back against the federal government, which is something right-wingers say all the time. And then DeSantis saying he's going to let you sue Twitter if you're deplatformed. That's the go-getters. Okay, what's the gloom gang saying?
Tonight, I come to talk about crisis, the worst pandemic
Why the edit, Laura?
in a century,
Which is true,
the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression,
right?
the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
All true. But the gloom would be, they're here to stay. I'm for it. I love that part of Biden's speech where he was like, you know, I was going to come up here and rail against the greatest attack. We need more Capitol rioters. Why aren't they? Bring out the dude with the horns on his head.
Nice cars, lined up for miles, waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. More than 4.
Yeah. What are you happy about food lines? They're trying to solve it.
100,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them.
Yeah, they do, asshole. What's gloomy about that? Wanting to fix stuff that's broken is not gloomy. It's realism. Now, I understand why she might be uncomfortable since I guess she's on her way to a Salem witch trial. What the fuck is her outfit tonight? What is that? What kind of eyes wide shut shit did she just come from? Look at the billowy shoulders. Holy shit. If she turns out to be in 12th night with me, I quit.
Wow. So uplifting.
Wow? What are you talking about? It's true. You know, if we just felt... Aren't we supposed to be the people where, like, facts versus feelings? He's supposed to be uplifting when he's telling you there's lead pipes in 100,000 schools? That's a fact. The fact is we have to fix it. The fuck does feeling have to do with any of this? Aren't they? Am I... What?
It's shocking that more people didn't tune in for such an inspiring message.
We have to come together to root out systemic racism in our criminal justice system.
Why are they editing between every goddamn sentence? Look at this. Are you just rewriting the speech? See, this is, by the way, this is what started me last year doing all, Trump's entire rally speeches, doing the whole thing. And even though I stop mid-sentence sometimes and I talk about stuff, when we go back to it, I'm not taking anything out. And I'm certainly not creating artificial context by removing sections of it, which is what they always accuse the left of doing.
We have a real chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American lives in other ways.
Plagues American life?
Are you kidding? She's damp just thinking about it. Plagues? It's the only way I can come. Sorry, that was too much.
The governors of Florida and Texas, two of our most diverse states, beg to differ.
Oh, yeah? Are they?
A bunch of horse manure. I mean, give me a break. This country has had more opportunity for more people than any country in the history of the world, and it does.
That's because we are among the very few countries in the world that aren't racially homogenous. We're, it's the, I'm your favorite nephew, I'm her favorite nephew. You're her only nephew.
Doesn't matter where you trace your ancestry from.
Use race to divide and then attack each other, and it's wrong. Texas
Well, then stop doing it.
is a land of opportunity for absolutely everybody, and we want to unite everybody, not divide people.
Okay, good. Then I'm sure you will have ICE do raids on Canadians and Northern Europeans who are working at tech companies in Dallas and working for oil companies and Middle Easterners who are overstaying their visas. You're not? Oh.
Today's Democrat Party is so left,
Democratic Party.
it's left America.
Yeah, we saw the label. That's what she said. Radical leftists take over the Democrat Party. Well, they had to, obviously. We had to let them take over because Frank Luntz was pushing everybody this direction.
It tolerates mass illegal immigration.
No. It doesn't. The border is closed. The natural rise in illegal immigration coming across the southern border has stemmed for the time being. It will rise again in the fall. You guys will line up these storylines. Everybody on your network will have them all queued up and ready to go, except Tucker. He'll be caught completely off guard and have to text guests that morning.
Coddles criminals, looters, rioters, and it's...
You coddle criminals, looters, and rioters by saying anybody who breaks the law should go to jail, and they're not the same as protesters? That's what Biden said.
Seeks to silence any and all opposition from law...
Seeks to silence any and all opposition from what?
Law-abiding citizens.
From law-abiding citizens. How? Oh, because Twitter kicks you off or something? Is that what that's what the lefty is doing?
Just look at what they did to Senator Tim Scott on...
Oh, did they? What did they do? Did Uncle Tim trend? And did the left make it trend? Who made it trend, Laura?
Twitter this week. I guess they thought they were being cute with their...
Who's they? Who's they? because it doesn't trend because people are using it in a positive sense. The people who are going, oh my God, stop saying Uncle Tim, or people who use the phrase Uncle Tim are gross, on either side of the aisle who said that will boost it up because the algorithm doesn't care whether you're for or against something. That's why we love trolls around here. As long as they're not violent or selling anything or posting links to snuff films, which is, obviously their only way of getting traffic over at frankspeech.com. We're fine with people who argue with us over here. I love the hate watchers. They've given us our extra numbers. I mean, they never subscribe because they're lazy and afraid, and they only subscribe to people that they completely like because they like living in a bubble. Think that reverse psychology is working?
Uncle Tim hashtag. But really what they did is they just revealed once again how sick, twisted, and anti-American they've become.
Well, it got boosted because people using it and people against using it were using it a lot. It's the same way that somebody says they really love an actor, and then after 6 hours, everybody thinks they've died because their name is trending, and they're like, "Oh my God, I thought Anthony Hopkins died." Right.
It seems like many people in the Democrat Party, and it's not just the far left, it's many people in the Democrat Party are putting down America day in and day out. It's
terrible. We're just putting down America day in and day out. Not on this show, buddy. Hey, but let me look at something. Let's see where. Let's do it. I won't pick let's see. 2018. I gotta find one. I'm having a hard time finding one. Oops. There we go. I mistyped a letter. Sorry. There we go. 46. Let's see. Let's see. 46 more rows. Here we go. Get out of here. Why is that? Quit. Okay, so here's the... By the way, and this has to do with, it's always easier in a small state or whatever. California's literacy rate, and this is largely due to the number of Hispanics living in the country that live there that are newly immigrated or live in territories where, like parts of the city and stuff where everybody speaks Spanish all the time, artificially slants the literacy rate. But California's literacy rate, and you split the state in half too, because you're talking about inland versus the coast. But here's California's literacy rate. It's at 76.9%. New Hampshire's killing it with 94%. Illinois got 87%. Mississippi's at 84%. There you go. So, and Texas, they're beating Texas and Louisiana. They're beating Florida. Florida's got an 80% literacy rate. Let's go to, let's see. Let's see. I mean, obviously, there you go. Fact sheet. I don't know what. Get that side out of the way. Hold on. How do you? I don't want the side part. I just want to see the whole thing. Yeah. Let's see. 2020. As of 2010, Mississippi has the second worst gun murder rate in the nation, 92% higher than the national average. Oh, so I guess Mississippi's way of solving their illiteracy problem is just let anybody, let's just shoot anybody who can't read. Any trespassers will be shot. They end up with a lot more shootings that way because, all right. They shoot all the people who can't read.
They want to act as if there is not this thing called the American dream.
Yeah, there is. We're just trying to that's why we're using the word equity instead of equality. It's kind of
And they are absolutely wrong.
wrong.
Truth is, today's Democrats despise our political system. They hate the way most Americans
Why would we despise it? We just won.
live, and they revile our history and our traditions.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, when she says "our," I sometimes I think she's talking about like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, the Constitution, that kind of stuff. What she means is obviously Robert E. Lee statues and the Confederacy and their own currency.
So when Biden talks about
Our.
creating opportunity, he's just talking about the opportunity for big government to grow bigger by taking more of your money and more of your freedoms.
What freedoms are these?
But for the GOP governors,
Sorry, what were the freedoms though?
opportunity means job creation in the private sector, one that
And lead pipes apparently.
is freed from the heavy yoke and high taxes and endless red tape.
Texas ranks #1 in the nation for black-owned business job creation, for black women-owned
By percentage?
business job creation, for Hispanic-owned business job creation.
Yeah, it's amazing when you have one and you get another one that's 100% growth. See how that works? What's the standard by that?
For Hispanic entrepreneurs.
Because you don't have Atlanta's numbers. Dallas does not have Atlanta's numbers.
In order to become job creators and entrepreneurs that Governor Abbott was talking about, well, kids have to be in school. They have to be learning. They have to be playing sports, having a normal life.
No, they don't. And if they did, then where is Laura Ingraham's 5-part series on how homeschooling makes people second-class citizens?
Americans also just need to be together, not
Yeah, that's where she's on her way to I don't know, her weekly coven.
shut away from one another.
Honestly, I don't know what that outfit is. She has a formal thing she's going to, and she's just refusing to wear something. It's creeping me out.
At least that's what the Republicans fought for.
Remember when President Biden got on the air and said, we want everybody to be playing, sports again? I'm like, we were doing that last summer.
Yeah.
What is he talking
We want everybody to gather at 4th of July. We were doing that last summer, too. He, completely out of...
Sorry, Ricketts, what, from Nebraska, are you? Nebraska? Should we, let's see, let's go to here. Nebraska, population. Your whole state has the population of downtown Los Angeles. Were you now? Let me guess, you could socially distance in your state just by being in your state. Nobody interacts with people they don't know in a lot of these states, like Nebraska. You didn't have people coming from outside the state. 1.9 million people. Yeah. To give Iowa credit, they've got 2.4. They got 500,000 more. And I like Omaha. By the way, Omaha, Nebraska is a quarter of the entire population. Adorable. So just saying.
Playing, sports again. I'm like, we were doing that last summer.
Yeah.
What is he talking
We want everybody to gather at 4th of July. We were doing that last summer, too. He, completely out of touch with what's
With what it's like to live in a state with nobody in it.
going on.
To have 2 senators represent a state that has 1.9 million people in
Our
it.
states. He does not know what's going on.
We warned you a year ago that Democrats would seek to use the pandemic
To keep people from dying.
to keep us in a continual crisis mode.
We were in an actual crisis. You do realize that, right? This woman is arguing like we're like the guys running the lifeboats on the Titanic were keeping people out of the pool.
Then, of course, that crisis of the pandemic just folds into the next crisis.
What's the next one?
The systemic racism crisis.
That's not a crisis. It's just an ongoing problem that we have to solve. It's not. It doesn't mean the system is. Again, this is a This is their brain fart. This is where their synapses squeeze together, where the door pinches them.
The climate crisis.
Hawaii to become the first state to declare a climate emergency. Yeah, why would they do that when Florida is going to be underwater too? Oh, DeSantis.
Hawaii just declared a climate emergency. This happened yesterday.
Did they do it just on a whim? They're just doing that to freak people out, because that's what people go to Hawaii for, is to be freaked out.
So these perpetually hyped crises are then just used to justify the left's brazen efforts to take more of our money and more of our liberty. That's how
What's the liberty? What liberty are you missing?
the game always goes.
If that's how it always goes, give me an example.
But the only real crisis that
What liberty? What liberty is being taken?
America suffers from today?
And I don't want to hear, because you have to wear a mask in public during the pandemic. There's nothing being written into the Constitution that says you have to, from now on, we're wearing masks. That would be an overreach. Dealing with it, I don't get how this, oh my God, my liberties, in a year when we have 600,000 of our fellow Americans die, a bunch of people needing lung transplants, a child as young as 4 weeks old, and almost, our elders are in constant fear of dying all of last year, and Trump's like, it'll go away with the heat.
Are those that are created by them, the Democrats,
Oh, okay, gosh.
the border crisis.
I'm sorry, what crisis? You mean the border challenge that's always a challenge that we've been dealing with for a long time? That we need a big system in place so that we can handle it because we're a great country. And, of course, a lot of people are going to come here. Some of them are going to have legit asylum claims. Others aren't. We're going to also have situations where we go, hey, welcome. You know what? We don't have room for you here. But we have an agreement with Belize, or we have an agreement with Guatemala, where we're going to establish NGO territories in those countries where you're near your family and friends and stuff, but you'll be safe, and we'll protect you, and we'll do kind of like UN troops around those areas to make sure that you're safe, so that you don't have to come here. You can be closer to your family. Maybe they can join you in that part of it, and then eventually you can feel safe enough to build your own political movement, and then you would, all right.
Or the education crisis.
Is there not? You're not saying that's a crisis. So to Laura Ingraham, failure rates rise for Austin students, failing grades spike in Bay Area schools, failing grades on the rise in schools. That wouldn't be a crisis. Okay, so that's a plus. Okay, good.
Or the crisis of rising crime. So if Texas and Florida and the other red states had followed New York and California's lead a year ago,
they would have a surplus of taxes and have the highest vaccine rate and the lowest death rates in the country now?
Think about it. America's economy would be in the dumps.
Well, America's economy would be in the dumps if Florida and Texas were the economic powerhouses for what they give and what they create and what they do. If that was the way that was the economic powerhouse that we had, versus Los Angeles, San Francisco, the Silicon Valley, the ports of San Diego, and of course New York. If our finances were not based on trade and monetary rules and the stock market and the marketing and consumerism and all that kind of stuff and banking and all that kind of stuff, they weren't based on that, but they were based on the cruise ship industry and the hey, we'll stake down a bear so you can shoot it from a helicopter industry. Yeah, we would be screwed.
Just like Europe's. This is a headline out of Germany today, where they're implementing once again more pandemic restrictions. Meanwhile, our first quarter real GDP number that just came out, 6.4% growth.
Based on what? Again, I'm glad it's growing, but it's 6.4 from what? From what?
That is truly astounding.
From last quarter?
And of course, Biden is trying to claim credit as all his doing. But he deserves exactly zero credit for today's booming economy. It was all the doing of Donald J. Trump, the red state governors.
Oh, so any of the claims that Trump took for the raging economy that happened before he took office, that he skated in on.
And the American people who rejected the doomsdayers and stuck with first principles.
First principles. Oh, we've got an Elon Musk fan.
They trusted their own constituents over the so-called experts.
Why? Can I show you that Dinesh D'Souza clip again?
Who just wanted us masked up and afraid for as long as possible.
Guys, where is the panic attack in this? If the left is supposed to be the group that thinks America is weak, who is that freaked out by the mask aspect of things? It seems pretty logical. It was just a logical temporary fix for something in the circumstance until we come up with a vaccine that does it. We don't mask up for stuff we have already got herd immunity for, or that we know our health will beat up, in direct conflict with, like the flu.
So if Biden had been president, think about this, just a year ago, if he had been president,
we would have 200,000 less dead minimum.
All of America would look like Michigan.
No, it wouldn't, because they would have gotten all the materials they needed early, and Michigan's problems are largely based on the anti-vaxxer crowd and the militia crowd.
Failing, miserable, and
California, highest vaccine rate, big, they actually made money, 1.4% higher tax revenue.
Pessimistic. Let's not forget how they saw this whole thing unfolding about a year ago this time. They were saying that we might not recover from this pandemic economically for decades.
Yeah, we haven't. All the businesses, they're talking about the businesses that went out of business. All the people who had restaurants and the restaurants went out of business. That it's going to take them a while. They're going to need loans to get back in business, and it's going to take them a while to get back to where they were. And it's not even just what they're doing here. Some people can't get stuff from overseas to supply their business that they build here because those countries are still being affected, or they originally got a lot of their materials, Walmart, from China.
But what the story of the past year really reveals.
What does it really reveal? That if you think tweeting Law and Order makes people think you actually support Law and Order when you're just shitting on the FBI every chance you get anytime they come and go, hey, you're breaking the law. Or if you try to say anybody that protests is the same as a looter, or that being anti-fascist is the same as some sovereign citizen or anarchist lunatic who's blending into a crowd, or the Boogaloo Boys even for that, that you're the same as, that's the same as somebody who's marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Okay.
Is that Americans can't be held down or held back by Washington for very long.
Well, apparently they can. Because according to Tucker and Sean Hannity, Republicans are weak and can't respond to these things, and the America First crowd has just been failing miserably, and the Hate America crowd is winning at every turn because we don't know.
Yeah, the Democrats won the election by selling Biden as a nice, kind of moderate Democrat.
Which he is.
But now, now the voters are beginning to see what they really got.
Yeah, a nice, moderate Democrat.
They got an elderly hostage to the far left.
Lovely. Thanks for the ageism.
They've gone from Obama's "yes, we can" to Biden's "yes, we're racist."
Yeah, what? Who said we're racist? If there's intrinsic elements of a system that are racist, doesn't mean the system itself is racist. Nobody's trying to get rid of jury trials. And again, Moonbase asshole does not speak for the rest of us. Just because the right wing has welcomed this lunacy into their normal circles does not mean people who are like, I think we should open up all the prisons tomorrow and let everyone free because fairness. Like, nobody with any influence actually believes that shit.
This deeply cynical view means that Democrats can only occupy America.
See what we're going back to that. See, the Democrats are the Occupy Wall Street crowd, just in a different mask because Bernie Sanders.
They can't really govern it.
Really? Really? Because they seem to do really well. I mean, do we want to go all the way back to Clinton's, having a surplus? Do we want to... Obama, even with half of the stimulus he asked for, making the economy recover, we didn't go into a depression. We actually have a functioning vaccine system now, and the only thing slowing it down is anti-vaxxers and people like Tucker Carlson, who's on, I think, right after you.
What a depressing world they want to foist on us.
Yes, I'm so depressed by the idea that black people and white people and Asian people and Pacific Islanders and Native Americans could live in harmony. And if you want to start a business, you're allowed to. And you can get a loan based on your qualifications, not because somebody thinks your name sounds funny. Yes, what I can imagine why that would be Laura Ingram's nightmare.
But my friends, optimism beats pessimism any day of the week.
Yeah, that's why Biden won. I noticed she didn't use the America is back clip.
And by next year, a lot of those suburban women who voted for Biden, they're going to think this doom and gloom social distancing act of the Democrats,
which will have ended by June and July,
has gotten really old.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. If anybody's still social distancing and wearing masks after we've achieved, a permeance where anybody who wants the vaccine can get it, go knock yourself out. Suburban housewives, if this time next year, if you're bummed out by Joe Biden, apparently at that point in Laura Ingram's tiny skull, asking you to keep social distancing and wearing masks, I feel for you. What?
And they're going to be
freedom-loving red states unfazed by woke mob. Yeah, because there isn't one.
Looking for a brighter vision.
I think Greg and Kim and all these governors are doing it right, and we will have a resurgence of freedom in this country.
Because there are no freedoms being withheld, because no one was ever saying masks were permanent, so we all intended on ending them. We all intend on not having to social distance. That was what the plan is. That's why you do it, because until there's a vaccine and we reach a level of herd immunity, you don't want to kill somebody else by being a blathering idiot.
And 2022, I think, is going to be a great year for us.
No, it isn't.
Last night, we saw what a pro-American government looks like at the state level.
Oh, right, the pro-American, the whole thing where the other side of the political aisle is evil and needs to be wiped out because they're un-American.
It was all about joy, success,
and social distancing, I noticed.
Love of country.
Love of country?
And freedom.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Oh, God.